that have been stored, the brains of all the predecessors, the shadows from time in the past, and originally they were on the cluster, and now they've been moved on to the Lexx, and they're in their own little environmental thing that provides the blood and things like that they would require to survive.
No good! Too salty!
Visual effects is a realm of an area of filmmaking where we're adding anything from sets to creatures to vehicles in a post-production process, things that can't be shot in camera. So we're taking live action footage, adding a computer-generated element to it or a computer-generated aspect to it, and putting everything together into final shots, and that is the visual effects domain. CGI stands for computer-generated imagery, and that covers a fairly broad range of visual effects. Anything from shots that are all CG, completely computer-generated, all the way down to small enhancements to a live-action scene, like a spark hit or smoke that might want to go in a certain direction, or minor elements along those lines. So it covers a very broad range.
Right!
We have a number of shots of spacecraft arriving at the cluster planet, which itself is a computer-generated element. And this is an example of a completely computer-generated scene where we have prisoner transports, upper-class transports, various bits of spacecraft that would be arriving or existing around our main planet, our cluster planet. We also have creatures that are called cluster lizards. Some of the shots will be real puppet lizards, some full size, some hand size, and other shots of the cluster lizards would be computer generated. So a real key there, a real challenge, is to make the computer generated elements look identical to the live action elements, so that they're integrated seamlessly and they flow together seamlessly. Green screen is a way for us technically to be able to separate the actors from that green backing, and as a result of doing that, being able to put anything else behind in place of that green that we like. So green is a very, very good color to use because skin tones do not have green. Also technically it's a very, very good color because when it's converted from the film analog world into the digital world, because of the algorithm or the equation or the formula that's used, green is a much better color for us to be able to pull the actors away from. So we're shooting them on green so that we can very easily extract them from that background and put any set or environment behind them that we like. And one of the things that we're best at is taking live action elements, whether they be sets or props or puppets or what have you, and replicating them in the computer domain so that they can go into the show and not look like we've gone from live action land into computer generated land. We don't want to see that scene. We don't want people to look at the show and say, there's a computer generated effect. Now we're back in live action. That shouldn't even cross their minds, because if it does, then we haven't done our job. One of the reasons that we're using a lot of computer animation and computer elements is because of the economy of scale and cost. A lot of our environments that we're putting our actors into, the script calls for them to be in huge cavernous rooms, sometimes 300-400 feet high, or going to locations that can't be reproduced cheaply on this planet. So we're using the technology to its ultimate advantage in being able to make spaces that could be any size. And in the computer, it's almost as simple to make a space that might be 500 feet tall as it is to make a space that's 10 feet tall. So we're using the technology to enhance, I guess, the production value of the whole overall project. And I think what the producers have really focused on is using the technology where it is best suited. We're looking at about affecting about 75% of the overall footage. That doesn't mean that it's 75% computer generated. There is a bit of a fallacy that's sort of been attached with the show, saying this is a computer-generated show. This isn't a computer-generated show. This is a live-action show taking place in locations that can't be very easily reproduced on Earth. What we're doing is taking about 75% of the scenes and doing something with them. Here we go. There's no way of knowing for sure, but all indications point to the fact that the Dark Zone, or the Lexx, or whatever we end up calling the show, is using computer technology to a far greater extent than any other television show and even most feature films have in the past. A number of shows, things like Babylon 5 and Space Above and Beyond and other shows along that realm do use a lot of computer animation and computer effects, but they're generally relegated to the area of there's a separation. We're in a live action set, we do all business there, then we cut outside and see a few spacecraft coming by, and then we cut back to live action again. We're using it in a much more integrated fashion and to a much larger degree. I think that when this show is all said and done and it's gone to air, it will be by far the most computer-generated or computer-enhanced show ever produced for television.
And now we'll talk about the upcoming picture, number 3.
Excellent idea.
And that's called Eating Pattern.
Now, I mean, we have to say, in all honesty, that no, I can't.
Go ahead, you can say it. You can say it.
No, I was going to say that Tim Curry was just wonderful. We had another actor. I don't know whether you ever heard of Rutger Hauer, but Rutger, who we love, we love him.
Love him. Big dog.
He's a great guy. Big dog, we used to call him. If you remember him from Blade Runner, he looks a little different because he's sort of had a few bowls of pasta.
He's mellowed into success.
Who's that British heavyweight fighter? Frank Bruno. You know
Frank Bruno.
You know how big Frank Bruno's ass is? It's nothing compared to what Rutger's got going.
He's in his Marlon Brando phase.
In the potty department.
But he's, big crapper, but terrific talent.
Great guy. And it's actually, if you go out and rent the next one, Eating Pattern, that is a movie which I think it's safe to say is more along the model of how we'd like the series to go, in a way, in the sense of they go to a planet and have a very nasty adventure. It's very nasty. You think it's going to be kind of bad, but then it gets very nasty.
And show number 3 is obsessed with?
Drugs, probably.
Yeah.
Drugs and thick some sex.
We
a
deal-
lot of violence.
we deal with
Thick green gel-like fluid
obsessed
sort of
with violence.
spilling out everywhere. Yeah.
And drugs and worms.
Worm.
Worms.
Sex.
Okay.
We're into worms.
Sexy
big
worms.
time. I'm
Yeah,
into
and you
worms.
get to meet Whist. And the important thing in show number 3, or picture number 3, is your worm is your friend.
I think it will move you in ways that you probably weren't meant to be moved.
It will change your light bulb, I think.
It'll
And
change your light bulb,
watch
which
that
is
scene
an
again.
illumination. And
Old light bulb out, new light bulb in,
because
and I felt it.
We're not just trying to make average science fiction movies here. We're trying to make meta film.
We want to change your life.
We're trying to go beyond film into something which hopefully will not only entertain you, but give you something that maybe you can grow a little.
Tail flip!
Marker?